All right. Hello and welcome to day 2 of Spring Awakening. Today, we are going to talk about journaling and how truly the power has been inside of you all along. And I'm going to teach you a technique that will help you tap the subconscious power of your mind so you can make decisions more quickly, more efficiently, more easily, and you can feel more grounded and centered in knowing that those decisions are the right decisions. So, how this ties into yesterday. Yesterday, we set the intention. We used the conscious portion of our mind, we set that intention, and then we used hypnosis to tap, again, the subconscious or unconscious, and let that intention infiltrate basically our whole brain so that intention becomes us. So my question for you today, and you can just jump in and answer it, or you can raise your hand, it doesn't matter, is what are the things that typically rock your peace? What are the things that make you question yourself and kind of send you into that place of being insecure, thinking maybe you've done it wrong?
Yeah, that's good. I think, for me, with the pleaser attachment style, um, that really is growing up. It's like a 50 plus years of telling myself that I wasn't enough,
Yep.
that I had to constantly do things for other people to get that validation externally and not look internally for that validation. And so I think anything that will rock my peace is me feeling that I have to now all of a sudden drop me to go pick someone else up as far as how are they feeling? How are they doing emotionally? What do I have to do for them? So it's more others focused than me focused. And that's what I'm trying to work on.
So well said. And you're right. It's so common and we spend our lifetime doing that. And it's challenging to undo the conditioning. Um, Keep using the hypnosis from yesterday. I sent you each the file. Keep using that with that in specific intention in mind to I've got myself. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. What about you, Patty? What rocks your peace?
Kind of along the same line as Evelyn that spoke.
Yes.
Um, I I find myself sometimes stepping up to help people, even when they don't ask for my help, and because I know they're going to need help with this, or I know they're going to need that, and I volunteer. And I really kind of caught myself over the last year of this volunteering, but it's so ingrained in me to like try to keep keep the peace for everyone else, to try to make sure that they're happy and status, that everything's good with them before I even think about myself. So that's just so yeah. I still feel those feelings coming up, and I still struggle with them. So
Yeah.
I guess it's part of the whole people pleasing.
Yeah, it is. And what I want to say around that is when you identify what it is, then the next question, yesterday I was talking about like the flow charts. So you identify what it is, and we all have that same thing. It's people pleasing, caretaking other people. So the next question to ask yourself, is that coming from inside me, or is that coming from somebody else? Is it an internal sensation or an external sensation? Is it you internally saying, I need to help? A worthy woman would do this. A caring friend would do that. A good person would do that. And it's that internal dialogue. Or is it external? Somebody telling you, if you don't take care of me, I might die. If you don't take care of me, I'm going to leave you. Is it internal mostly or external? Yeah.
For me, definitely internal.
Patty?
Can it be both?
Yes.
I mean, yeah, I feel for the most part it is internal. And there's a part of me that feels, well, if I'm doing something for myself, like this program,
Yep.
I'm being very selfish. I am being selfish right now. I struggle with that. Part of me wants to step away and get back into helping other people because here I'm spending an hour on myself. That's not right, you know.
Yep.
I should be working on taxes or I should be doing something else. Um, so there's that part. But then there's also the part where I have heard the if you do this, then this is what's going to happen to me. And and so there's a little bit of guilt there too.
Yeah, absolutely. When it comes from internal, I'm going to teach you a way to manage that today. Oh, did Patty just pop off? Yep, I bet her
I
phone.
think we lost her.
Yep, that's okay. She'll come back. She'll get this. I'm going to teach you a way to manage that internal voice. And when it is an external voice, I always invite you to just ask this question. Is that really true? There she comes. Because we gotcha. When you ask yourself that question, is that really true? It allows you to see, you know what? If it's your child and they are a child, it might be true that you need to show up for them, that you need to sacrifice yourself because they are a child and they can't take care of themselves. If it's a boss, is that really true? Sometimes there might be a work situation where you're like, yeah, it really is true. Something is going on. You know, as an attorney, we go to court on this date. It is really true that if I don't show up on this date, it will be a massive problem because I won't be representing my client. And yes, things will fall apart. That is really true. Sometimes it's not true. Sometimes it's just somebody else's experience of the situation, somebody else's desire. It's not really true. Oftentimes, if it's a partner or a friend or somebody in your world, it's more of a manipulation. And just asking yourself, is this really true? Puts you back in that position of being able to determine or ascertain whether it's true or not. Because then it gives you the choice. The power is inside of you to choose. You can choose to totally drop somebody who's in need. Like you can choose to do that. And sometimes just validating, I can choose to not show up for somebody in need. I can make that choice. I'm not saying you should or you shouldn't, but just sometimes validating yourself, I do have the choice to walk away from this. Shifts it. Because then when you do choose to show up, you are choosing to show up from a place of power. If you've got a girlfriend who's going through a horrible crisis and she calls and is like, I need you, I need you, I need you. It is your choice whether to show up or not. And it's more powerful to say, I choose to put myself aside and to be there in service, because then you're not feeling resentful and bitter because you know, I chose this. Versus saying, I am here for you. We are friends and I absolutely want to listen. But first, I'm going to give myself 20 minutes to eat dinner. I'm going to take a walk around the block. I can be present for you in about 45 minutes. I'll call you back in 45 minutes. It's always your choice what you do. And recognizing that is a really powerful way to break yourself out of bitterness and resentment. So if you're going to work on something with your partner, it's because you are choosing it. And when it's your choice, you can change your mind at any time. Now, to manage that internal state, and then we're going to go on to some of the journaling, but to manage that internal state, One of the exercises from the Step Into Your Moxie curriculum, which is a speak up and advocate curriculum that I teach, is called critic, cop, cheerleader, and coach. At any given time, there is one of, and we're just going to say 3 voices in your head: the critic, the cop, or the cheerleader. The critic is the voice that tells you, that's critical, that tells you things like, you've got to do this. You're lucky to be in this relationship. You're lucky to have friends like this. You've got to show up. Otherwise, people aren't going to stick with you. You're just not that great anyway. You really are not worthy. You need to do this. It's a critical voice. The cop is the voice that is very black and white. You should do this. A worthy woman would do this. A good friend would do this. Very black and white. If you don't, you're wrong. If you don't, people are going to leave you. And then the cheerleader is the voice that is really encouraging. And although that encouragement might sound like a good thing, it's more like toxic positivity. You don't need a full night's sleep. You can stay up and take care of your friend. It doesn't matter that you're not eating healthily. Your friend needs you and you've got to you can push through. You can power through. You can show up. Oh my gosh, the poor other person, you've got to take care of them. You can do this. You can get through it. And while all 3 of those voices tend to show up at one point in time or another, typically there is one voice that is our default voice. And for me, my default voice is the cheerleader. I'm always catching myself saying, you can do it. You can sacrifice. It's okay. You're strong, Lora. You can do it. So identify, is it the critic telling you how bad you are, how unworthy you are, how stupid you are, how you don't know enough, how you're not thin enough, rich enough, pretty enough, good enough, whatever? Is it the cop telling you that you're right or wrong? I saw that fatty cop. Right or wrong, good or bad, yes or no, black or white, or is it the cheerleader? And once you've identified what that voice is, then you can start bringing in that 4th voice. And that's the voice of the coach. And the voice of the coach pushes back gently and asks clarifying questions. Like I said earlier, if somebody's telling you they need you, is that really true? And the voice just brings in some sanity, some grounding, and allows you to get out of the story in your head and to start ascertaining what's really going on here. Is this healthy for me? Is this really true? Does this feel right inside my body? What is this decision going to do, both in the short term and in the long term? And I'd like you to craft a few statements for yourself that are coaching questions. And you can write them on a sticky note or, a pad of paper and just keep them handy. Because when you start feeling a little bit of that anxiety, like I've got to do this, I've got to drop myself and I've got to pick up everybody else, I've got to go do this. You can pull out that question and be like, is that really true? What is this behavior going to do? Is this behavior going to serve me? Is this choice going to serve me? And it's just a filter question to run things through. I've got a section in my book. I should have tabbed it beforehand, and I didn't. Let me see if I can just grab it. Filter questions. It is a list of filter questions that you can use. Let's see, is that it? Yeah. And if you don't know, my book is Flaunt, Drop Your Cover and Reveal Your Smart, Sexy, and Spiritual Self. And I've got a lot of activities and exercises in it. But this is a list, the page 47, if you've got the book, the Living in the Glitter section. Living in the Glitter is like literally living in a snow globe with all this glitter or fake snow swirling around. It makes it really hard to see when all of this stuff is swirling around. And bringing in the voice of the coach, asking those filter questions helps you to see clearly. So some of the filter questions that I have in the book are, besides me, who else around me holds this belief? My mom was a people pleaser. My grandma was a people pleaser. They all believed that if they stopped interfering, the whole world might shut down. Is there a reason that I or those around me hold this belief? What is the reason for my belief? Is it something that you were just raised with? Is it something in our culture? You know, living in a patriarchal culture, we all share some beliefs. Would we have this belief if we lived in a different part of the world, or if we were born 20 years from now? Another question is this thought even true? Thinking is habitual. Is it true that I have to drop myself in order to take care of somebody else? Is there a way I can both take care of myself and the other person? Kind of like I was saying earlier, I hear you. I'm going to give myself a healthy dinner and take a walk around the block. I'll talk to you in 45 minutes. Is there a way to do both? How is my belief false? It's the flip side of the question. Is this belief true and is this belief false? But sometimes thinking about it on both sides helps you see things a little bit differently. Does the contradiction between what I want and what my mind is telling me to do cause me mental angst or any sort of discomfort?
Can you repeat that one?
Sure. Does the contradiction of what I want and what my mind is telling me to do cause me mental angst or discomfort? What am I avoiding looking at? And this is a really powerful one. What would changing my belief mean for me, as well as for my relationships with others? What would changing my belief mean for me, as well as with my relationships with others? Because oftentimes it would rock the boat a little bit because people are used to you abandoning yourself to take care of them. And then how can you sit with that discomfort in the moment of saying, I'm changing the dance. You know, we talked about the dance yesterday. I'm changing the dance. Instead of doing a 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 waltz, we're doing a 4-step. 1, 2, 3, 4. Boom, 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 boom. The discomfort is temporary until the other person learns those dance steps as well. So how can you stand in that discomfort and be okay inside? And one of the ways to manage that discomfort is through like that, bringing in the voice of the coach, using filter questions, because it'll keep you in your head. Another way to really manage discomfort is through journaling. And there are many different ways to journal. But one of the best ways to journal is to use it as a means to answer questions, to process what that discomfort is really about. Because when you start understanding what that discomfort is really about, then it's easier to be like, it's okay, I've got this. It might feel hard. Does it feel hard to you to think about saying to a friend or somebody in need, I will be with you in 45 minutes, but I need 45 minutes for myself first? Does that feel awkward? Yeah. And if you called a friend and you said, oh my God, I've got to talk to you, I'm in this crisis, and they said, I need 45 minutes in order to be fully present for you, how would you feel? Because I'd be like, yes, I want you to be fully present for me. Take all the time you need. I will wait. I would so much rather have somebody be fully present with me than being like, hang on. Yep, I can't believe, let me swallow first. Okay. I want someone's full presence. So you can use journaling to ask yourself questions, just like these coaching questions that I talked about. When you ask yourself a question, you open up a loop in your brain, and your brain scans the environment and looks for answers. So the magic is in asking the right question. Because if you open up the wrong question, your brain is going to scan and find the wrong thing. So what I mean by that is if you're asking yourself paranoid questions, are people really out to get me? Ooh, your brain goes, are people out to get me? Ah, I found that person who's out to get me. Oh, I remember this time. They're out to get me. Oh, yes, they're out. Your brain is going to find what you seek, you will find. So you ask the question, are people out to get me? Suddenly, all of this evidence about all the people who are out to get you are going to be found, and then you're going to close the loop. Yes, people are out to get me. Let me prove to you how and why I know that. If you ask a constructive question, your brain will seek that evidence too. How can I better prioritize myself? How can I take care of others without dropping myself? How can I stand firm in my own convictions? How can I feel more comfortable during this process? How can I be more confident? You ask a constructive question, and then you let that subconscious mind, you let the brain seek the evidence that gives you the answer. And sometimes people say they don't know what coaching is really about. What do you mean you do betrayal recovery coaching? What is a coach? How is it different than a therapist? What's going on with that? A therapist will usually look to your past and explain things that have happened. Somebody's projecting, somebody's being defensive, somebody's got narcissistic traits. You believe this from your childhood. It's going for the past. Coaching is finding those questions that can move you into the future. Coaching is about doing what we're doing. We're setting the intention. Now we're using our own mind, our own brain to find our own answers. Because the answers are inside of us. Because we are the only ones who know how we want to feel and be in our life. We have to create our own roadmap. And then we have to have the conviction to follow that. Whether it's betrayal recovery or something else, your journey is different than everybody else's journey. Of course, there's some similarities, but you are confronting those parts in you that need healing. You need to ask your own questions, seek your own evidence, and find those next steps for yourself. And a coach facilitates that process for you and with you. So that's what this whole section on journaling is about. It's about asking the right questions. The higher quality the question, the higher quality the answer. So what gets in your way? Internal, not knowing what rocks you off your center. How can you ask those questions to let your brain find the evidence to bolster you to keep you moving forward? See how that all ties together to solidify that intention and to carry you forward? Yesterday, we set the intention. We dropped it into the subconscious. Now we're talking about what else is going to get in the way. It's typically not people on the outside of us, but if it is, we can ask questions. Is that really true? Typically, it's the stuff that's inside. How do we bring in that voice of the coach to move us forward? How do we use questions? Now, I have just given you a whole lot of questions. What I encourage you to do is journal one at a time. One. Because when you set your brain off on this whole hide and seek, you don't want it to be looking for 15 different things and to get confused. So what is the most relevant question? What is the juiciest question right now? That's what I want you to journal on. And then just be with it. And you don't have to force the journaling. It's not like, I will journal until I get the answer. Just let some things flow. See where it goes. And then that helps you stay committed. Because if you have asked the question, what can I do to better take care of myself? And then you journal, and in your journaling query, you go through some things where you're like, this is silly, but I'm still writing about it. Wow, this is profound, but I never thought about that. You're letting yourself process. So then you've opened up that question. So then you don't know things today, but then tomorrow you might see, like Patty, you mentioned doing things for yourself. Tomorrow you might see like, oh my gosh, they're doing an adult art class at the rec center. That sounds really cool. And then you've asked yourself, is this a way I can better take care of myself? And you can be like, yes, that sounds amazing. Or no, I don't really like art. It helps you ascertain what's helpful and what's not. And then you can also notice, yes, that would be amazing, but no, I feel too guilty. Okay, let's talk about that no then. So then a question might be, where is this guilt coming from? What are ways I can live fully? How can I set myself free from guilt? And then you just sit with that and you write what you know and you write what you don't know. And then something will come in and you'll be like, bingo. Open a loop, close the loop, open a loop, close the loop. One step at a time, moving you forward. And you might be thinking, well, great, but this feels kind of slow. Yes, because it's thorough. And if you've ever done something where you're like, I got this book and I read it and it's awesome and I'll do this stuff later. How often do you really go back and do the exercises? You don't. Or if you're like, this is amazing, but then you don't do it in life because it feels awkward. It feels uncomfortable. Like, here's a question to ask your spouse. Here's a question to, and you're like, I'm not really going to do it. I had a coach once who challenged us to go do something hard that very next day. I had a friend who owed me money and I knew I needed to ask her for the money. I knew she just forgot. I knew it was legitimate. We went to a concert together. I bought them. She's like, I'll Venmo you. She never Venmoed me. The awkwardness inside to call and ask her for money was like this mountain. But once you do it, and once you have that accountability, then it's like all these stories in my head about what it meant. Journal about it. Why is this so hard for me? What am I afraid of? How can I be comfortable asking friends for money? Here's another great question. What is this really about? What is this really about? because this is all about making yourself so solid that when you make a decision, you're like, I got this, and I'm not going back on it. And you can use journaling to help you make those decisions too. Do I stay or do I go? Journal about your reasons to stay. Journal about your reasons to go. Break it down. My fear in going is. My fear in staying is. Because if you've journaled it and then you address each question as it comes up, then you're solid and you know. I don't want to pull the plug on this relationship in case it can be saved. Okay, let's talk about that. What does it mean to be saved? Where is the line when you will pull the plug? What does it mean if? And then you're solid. Yeah, I know. I know. And I'm clear. And I've sat with my decision and all the pieces of my decision long enough that external pressure doesn't feel like pressure anymore. Because if somebody tells me, oh, you should leave, or you should totally go now, I can't believe, why would you stay? Is that really true? Is it really true that I should stay? Is it really true that I should go? You use that coach voice in your head to talk back, both internally and externally. I am going to zip my mouth because this is a lot. And I just ask you each to process with me, whether it's a question or a statement or a reflection. I would love to hear where and how this is landing for you.
For me, it definitely lands. I've been journaling on and off. I'm a year out from discovery, so I've got some space.
Yeah.
Been doing a lot of journaling lately, and really having it be. I started the journaling because I started the artist's way.
Yes.
And so it's helpful because that's really, although it's journal your pages, there are specific questions that I can be answering. And so I think what you're saying really lands because I feel like I'm getting answers through my journaling more now than I did, like before it's like vent, anger, sadness, grief. Now that I'm finally starting to ask the questions, and it's like, oh, okay. So I hear what you're saying, and I'm like, yeah, it's just like confirming the work I've been doing.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because you're right. You can vent, and that's perfect, and you can ask. I always say we are our own oracle. All of the answers truly are inside. We know them. It's just sometimes we're afraid to ask the right question. So yeah, using the journal to ask the question and just receive that answer is huge. Patty, how about you?
This is amazing. I love this. Thank you. I I I think what's hitting with me is, and it was a question I was going to ask, is like, can you use journaling to try to make a decision? And then you actually answered that with, yeah, look at the, why this or why that, and look at both sides. And I think my struggle is the whole stay or go thing. And I've been, this December will be 5 years out, and still, it's like I, and I know it's me. It's not. He's doing everything he should do. I just don't want to be here anymore, And I have to just face that and admit it, even though everybody's like, "Oh, you guys are doing great." I'm like, "No, we're not. It's not. It's not. It's not better. It's not. You know, not because of his behavior, but because of where I am. Because I did have a break. I did leave for a little bit, And it was wonderful. I left for about 9 months, had my own place, did my own things, didn't have to worry about pleasing anybody but me. And it was wonderful. And then I thought, oh, that's being selfish. I need to go back and work on this. And it's been 2 years, and it's all I want to do is go away. And so, yeah, and I think I have to look at that, like you said, just look at it and be honest with myself and know that I've already made my decision. I just have to, you know, go forward with it. So,
Yeah.
thank you.
You're welcome. And I want to say around that too, there's the decision and there's the action.
Right.
Yeah. My podcast is coming out on Sunday. I definitely want you to hear this one because it is the stages of change. And the decision place is different than the action place. And you can hang out in that decision place for a while. And I encourage people, one of the most common mistakes that people make after infidelity or any time, but they move too quickly. And what I likened it to in my podcast on Sunday is, have you had a baby, Patty?
2 babies.
Okay, so you know the whole labor delivery thing. You don't go into labor and have somebody say, let me teach you Lamaze really fast. Let me teach you about epidurals. Let me teach you about Lamaze breathing. There's also this Bradley's technique. Let me teach you about massage. Like, you don't learn that the moment you go into labor. You learn that before. And that's why in a lot of the labor classes, you practice. People practice rubbing your back. You practice listening to music. You practice listening, having essential oils. You practice your comfort items. The decision is going into labor. You know it's going to happen. You know at some point this decision, you're going to take action on it. Right now is your time to prepare, to learn all the tools, to journal all the things, so you know all the answers. So when the time comes to take action, you'll be like, I got this and I got that. And I know how to breathe. And I got my oils and I know how I like to be massaged. And I've got my favorite music. And I've got, so this is this preparation place. And yeah, journal around it, admit it to yourself, but don't feel pressure to take action right now.
Right. Exactly.
And I'm sending you so much love and support around that because I feel you.
I think that's why I felt so much better after yesterday. It's like, because I'm like, you know what? Make a decision. This is, it's what feels right. It really does.
Yeah.
And not just for me, but for him too. Even though he's the one that's like, if you leave me, I'll die. He's not gonna die. He'll be fine. But that's what I struggle with, and that's why I came back, because I saw he was depressed, and I saw, but that's his work. He needs to work on that, not me. I need to work on me. And I think we're at a point now where we both see that we both need to do our own individual growth, for ourselves. So that's where I am.
Good. And some questions that you can journal on. Is he a strong person? Yeah. Is he a capable person? Yeah. Is it going to benefit him at the end of the day to do this? Yes. Is he going to have soul growth at the end of the day to do this? Yes. Am I holding him back by staying here? How am I holding him back by staying here? And you've mentioned that, being selfish is something you are concerned about. Is it selfish to hold somebody back?
Yeah. I mean, it's like twofold. It's like darned if you do and darned if you don't. There's no, perfect answer, but I think I know the right answer.
Yeah, you do. You got this. And this is going to,
I do.
solidify this. Yeah, you've got this. So in the email that I'm going to send you today, I will have a copy of this video so you can go back to it. I also have a PDF download with some of the different journal prompts. And they're just prompts. I gave you all the questions today. You can come back to those too. Here are more prompts. The quality of the question creates the quality of the answer. Practice open a loop, close a loop, open a loop, close a loop, because it builds that confidence and that trust in yourself. You set the intention, you know where you want to go. And this is one of the tools that can help you find that conviction by answering your own questions. I also have a short video, and it's walking you through the answers in your head, the answer in your heart, and the answer in your gut. Because when you unify all three places and you know something intellectually from the heart and from the gut, there's no stopping you. And then if you do this little activity and you know one of these places that is out of whack, then you can start using journaling to answer those questions. If my heart and my gut both say no, and my head says yes, what's going on in my head? If my head and my heart both say yes and my gut says no, what's going on? Because decisions become solid when we've got all the answers, when we know what's really going on. So going back to that question, what is this really about? Oh, it's about fear. Oh, it's about judgment. Oh, it's about the unknown. Nobody likes the unknown. All right. Any last thoughts or comments before we sign off for today?
I do have some questions on the assignment from yesterday.
Yeah.
On the hypnosis, I wasn't sure. Okay, I knew what the physical anchor was, but I'm not sure what the emotional, spiritual, and the reprogramming statement were
Yes.
regarding.
The emotional is the breath. That connects to our emotions. If you're finding it hard to breathe deeply or freely, it's some emotional. So when we would rub and we would do a long, slow, deep breath, that calms the nervous system and gets the emotional. Okay. Then the statement of reprogramming is a couple of different things. It can either be that word that we were repeating, or you can turn that into the statement, I am confident. I am clear. So you take that word, what we use, the breath, the repeating your word. So what would you mind sharing your word, Patty? Your
My
intention.
word was confidence or clarity. To have clarity in my mind.
Perfect. So that can be your statement of reprogramming. I am clear. I feel clear. I am confident. I am clear. Great question. That was my bad for not explaining that well.
And what was the spiritual anchor?
Oh, same thing. The emotional spiritual anchor is that breath. It connects that emotions. It connects the spirits. It's all. So you're saying your word, you're doing this, you're breathing, and it is that connecting the body, the mind, the breath, the spirit. So it's just that connection. And whatever you need to do to anchor in to that feeling. Okay.
Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else? Okay.
It's just a big thank you.
You're welcome. Now, the next 2 days, we are not doing anything live. The next 2 days, I will send you this video right at noon, or send you a video right at noon, not this video right at noon. And I encourage you to watch it on your own. And the reason that I'm doing the 2 days not live is because I want you to kind of test. How do you feel showing up live? You're like, yeah, I got to ask questions. People are going to be here. Laura's going to know if I'm not here. Versus, okay, I have to do this on my own. I'll do it later. I'm going to have a quick lunch. I'll do it tomorrow. Okay, I'll do it tonight. I want you to notice that push-pull inside of you. Or if you're like, noon, I'm on it. Just notice what happens inside of you. Okay? Because we're going to work with that. All right. Reach out if you need anything. Oh, I cut you off. What?
No, I'm just okay.
Okay, perfect. Reach out if you need anything, and I will see you live on Friday, but I will be in touch via email the next 2 days.
Okay, thanks again.
You're welcome. Bye, ladies.
Bye.
Bye-bye.